This next interview is being sponsored by the following. The BOF Movement, which is a nonprofit organization based in Green Bay, Wisconsin and Chicago, founded by my brother Frankie Olvera, who had passed away from a very rare and aggressive form of cancer back in 2010. His mission for the BOF is to help families and kids who are dealing with cancer by giving them a chance to either express themselves creatively by supplying them art supplies or to be able to take them out to go on their last vacation and spend time with their family. Now, to find out more about the BOF movement and what they've been doing over these last couple years, you can check out their website, which is www.bofmovement.com. You can also follow them on Facebook and like what's going on there. Simply Spoken is created by Anthony Oliva, who's a circus artist and jeweler. I've known Anthony now for the past 5 years, but had no idea of his amazing abilities with metal. Anthony basically takes bike parts and upcycles them to either make jewelry, whether it's bracelets, earrings, necklaces, or even ornaments for Christmas trees. Currently, I'm wearing one of Anthony's bracelets, which is called the Standard. Guys, I would highly recommend this. It's very sleek and stylish, and it looks great on the wrist. Ladies, you can check out some of his jewelry and necklaces at his Etsy account, which is etsy.com/shop/simplyspokenak. And for those of you who are interested in finding more information about Anthony, you can check out his stuff on Facebook. My next sponsor is Symmetry, aka Christian Stevenson, who's a Midwest electronical dance music artist. I met Christian in 2014 during a production of a musical, and since then we've been able to create a music video for his album called Glass, which was a big hit. And what I love so much about Christian's work is his ability to fuse his training, his formal training as a classical musician, as well as electronical dance instruments, and blending these really, really nice mixes, whether they're from chilled out music to atmosphere to dubstep to house to just, everything and anything. This guy's pretty amazing. I use his music for my intros and extras of my videos, as well as this particular interview. I highly recommend him as an up-and-coming artist. Best way to find out more what Christian's doing with his music is you can find him on Facebook at Christian F. Stevenson, or you can check out his SoundCloud account at SoundCloud/Symmetry. It's spelled SYMMTRY. Again, I would highly recommend Christian for his work, his talent, and this kid is amazing. Good morning, everyone. This is Edwin Olvera from Edwin Olvera Dance and Creative Services, and I'm here right now with Christal Wagner, the artist. I love it. And Christal and I, we've known each other now. Oh my goodness, I think it's been more than 5 years. I think.
Has it?
I think so. Yeah, because well, anyway, Christal is an artist here in Milwaukee. I know her because we did a collaboration together. It was for the New Year's Eve event for a nightclub. I won't mention the name, but we had a blast doing the choreography. It was called Hold Me. It was like kind of an acro duet. We were stationed on a very small stage, so we did the best we could with choreography in that condensed area. And then over time, we had a chance to revisit that work and present it in a huge field. And I've admired you as an artist here in Milwaukee because of the simple fact that you do a lot of work. And what I mean that is, I see you doing choreography and then performance and then teaching, and so there's more, and we'll talk about it as this thing unfolds. You're also a former graduate of the UWM dance department. You have your BFA there. You got that in 2007, something like that?
Yeah, I graduated 2007.
Yeah, and I graduated 10 years after the fact I started, so I graduated just recently this past May, so thank God. Woohoo! Done.
But you've had a journey, though.
Yeah. We both had some journeys and some interesting, journeys in our life to be doing what we're doing now. Well, let me continue on and say what else, some of your stuff that you've done. You are a part of a company called Cadance Cadance Collective.
Yep.
And it's a trio of performing artists. It's you and two other ladies. Can you say who they are?
Yeah, so it's me. I mainly do dance and voice, and also sound editing for that trio. And then Emma Coy does flute performance and dance.
Yeah.
And then Alicia Storin does cello performance. And those are both of their, instruments of expertise. Alicia cello and Emma flute, and they're both involved in other orchestras and things like that. But yeah, we get together and we decided it would be cool to learn how to make art at the same time, learn how to make music and dance at the same time. And then,
original work? Is it all original? Like, as in, is the music that's being created, is it original content, or is
sometimes it is. Yeah, sometimes it's original content. So, oftentimes we'll start with an idea, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to pull from, existing music. So for example, we just did a piece called Jitterbug Suite, A Memory, where we took interviews. We went to the Shorewood Senior Resource Center, and we interviewed the seniors on their experience in the 30s and 40s, dancing at the Eagles Ballroom here in Milwaukee.
Really?
And so we took those interviews on that experience, and we found a common theme in those interviews. And then I chopped them up and made a continual audio from the 4 seniors that we interviewed, and then we took jazz standards or standards from the 40s and 50s, like April in Paris, Mary's eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So we took very classic songs and we overlaid them in the background, and then I layered dance choreography on top of it. So there's a lot of layers there for that work that we do together.
Oh, man, as you're telling me this, and my brain's like trying to fill in the blanks of this, visually trying to put it together, that must have been amazing, especially giving a voice to people who are a lot older, and hearing what they went through or experienced with movement and music.
Right.
However many years ago. That's what, my goodness.
Yeah, and I think the success of that, we had really great feedback where we just performed it, and I think the success of that is because everybody has grandparents, everybody has a mom and dad, everybody has somebody older, and they can relate to, their relative talking about the past. I think that's what was great about it. Everybody could, watching it, see a little bit of themselves and a little bit of their parents and a little bit of their grandparents in the story. And so it was really relatable.
Wow.
Yeah. And we do many other collaborative things besides that. Sometimes we make our own compositions, and I have input on their compositions, and they have input on my composition as a dancer. There's always this cross-discipline feedback that we're giving each other, and I think that's the most important part of what makes it successful.
Yeah, the ability to give each other suggestions like, hey, this is wow, that's interesting. Maybe do a little more of that. Or, do you think of this, option, right? That's awesome. Then another company you've been doing quite a bit of work for is the Danceworks Studio, or Inc., what you want to call it. For those of you who don't know who Danceworks, it's a nonprofit organization that has a studio here in Milwaukee, and they have a performance art company, and then they also have a lot of classes and educational outreach programs. And one of them two things that you do for them is you are the lead faculty ballroom instructor for the Mad Hop Ballroom outreach programs, right? And then there's also the performance company, so you do choreography for them, and you also perform in them. Right? So for each one, tell me a little bit, like how did you get interested in the whole ballroom concept? Did you do ballroom growing up or no?
Actually, yeah. So that's one of the I guess forms of dance that I did when I was in high school.
Yeah. I know you did swing dancing because remember we were.
Yeah.
I didn't know what swing really was, so I was
like,
okay.
Well, actually, yeah. So I first became interested in the intricacies of dance through a form of dance called West Coast Swing. And East Coast Swing, of course, and other forms of ballroom dance. But I found out that I was inclined in those areas when my parents started putting me through ballroom lessons and swing dance lessons. My teachers would say to me, like, "Wow, you're really quick at this. You're really quick at learning this." And you know, I didn't realize it now until I'm in the teacher role, and I see that in some of my students now, my young students. You know, there's some really special inclined students out there who just really get the intricacies of partnering and space and timing and stuff like that. So, but that's how I got started. And really, West Coast Swing is a form of dance that happens with a leader and a follow, and the leader, it's mostly improvised to current, you know, sort of like pop music, but like R&B sort of. It's like a little bit slower. It's not like high tempo pop music. And it's also, I mean, it has a history of being danced to country music as well, and also blues. And because, and it's
so
dance.
different.
It is, they're all so different, and it's dance to blues because there are breaks in the music, and the dancers that are dancing West Coast Swing are supposed to hit the breaks. So they're supposed to hit the pauses and the stops and the intricacies of the voice. Anyway, so it's an improvised dance that, you know, that the leader, you know, will give little indications.
Give cues, right?
Give cues, through
hand,
through connection, and then the follow will embellish. And you know, anybody listening out there, if this piques your interest, just look up some West Coast Swing, and it's like fantastic. It's wonderful to watch. But that's kind of how I first started, and so now through Danceworks, in their Mad Hot Ballroom and Tap program, I teach the ballroom portion, and I also teach the teachers how to teach the ballroom portion.
The tongue twister.
Yeah.
Teach the teacher how to teach.
Yeah. And I'm privileged to have that role because I've been working in the program for 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
And I really...
It's a huge success here in Milwaukee.
It is.
It's in a lot of schools. And
it's in a lot of public schools,
public schools,
and it's giving students access to programming that they would not normally get if, you know, Danceworks weren't, you know, putting that program out there.
And the model for it comes from that movie, the Mad Hot Ballroom and the Gentleman from New York.
Yep.
So it's amazing that they're doing it here, and they're really reaching out to so many kids who need movement. You know what I mean?
Right.
They need some type of creative expression and discipline
and
the ability to connect, you know, with another female without being so.
Right?
Teaching.
Teaching socialization, how to operate as a young adult or a young person with another young person, and teaching them those skills that they don't necessarily get every single day in school, especially since in school they're told to sit down and keep their hands to themselves. It's like
like a little drone.
Right. So we teach them spatial skills, and we teach them how to interact with each other, and we teach them body language and all of those things that aren't taught in public schools. It's so cool. And I should also mention our program is different from the one that was started in New York because we also have a tap program.
Yeah.
And the tap program, you know, gives every single student in that class tap shoes.
Really?
Well, it doesn't give that to them, but lets them borrow them for
and the ability to hear the instrument on their feet.
To hear the instrument on their feet. Yeah. So we have the tap portion. We also have the ballroom portion.
Oh, awesome.
And then also on top of that, you know, how I got started with Danceworks was I started performing with Danceworks Performance Company, which is the performance company associated with the institution.
Yeah.
And I've been with them since 2007 as well, so this will be my 9th season.
And when did you start doing choreography for them, for the company? Was it in the beginning, early on? Is it like a collaborative process? Because I don't know how the whole thing works. Or was it in the last, like, say, 5 years that you've been doing choreography?
The artistic director is incredible because she doesn't necessarily want to hog all of the stage time for herself. It's really not about just her work. Mm-hmm. It's really about the community of dancers on stage and their work. And so I'm really privileged to have been asked, nearly from the beginning, whether I wanted to choreograph or not. And I think some of my earlier work was still discovering and less successful.
That's okay.
But even in the first season that I was with Danceworks, I choreographed a dance for five called Play. And it was to a song called The Yellow Pages, and it was performed with live music in the background with present music. And that was my first opportunity to choreograph on that group, I should say.
Wow.
And then ever since, I've kind of I've gone back and forth, choreographing solo work and choreographing group work. So.
What was the most recent project you were dancing with them in? The production, that happened.
The most recent production was called Footsteps, Shadows, and Whispers.
Yeah, where was it at? That was at the
Next Act Theater. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that show was we worked around the theme of those three words: footsteps, shadows, and whispers. So it was more of like a showcase show where I think maybe 5 or 6 choreographers, and each choreographer took their interpretation of those words. Yeah.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to dance in multiple. It's also like amazing to be a part of a company where I get to not only dance for one person and one person's voice, but I get to dance for my for my colleagues. Yeah, and it's like our collective voice is one thing, but then each individual choreographer's voice is so different, and the amount of exposure to other people that I get as a dancer is really like blooming in this community that I'm in.
Because they're exposing you, each one of your colleagues exposing to another group of community of people that they hang out with and interest in music and movement.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And well, I guess let's begin with our very first question, which is, can you recall a time when yourself or your parents noticed that you had the natural gifts for movement?
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky to grow up in a family of movers. Mm-hmm. My whole family would roller skate.
Really?
Yeah. So
they were booming.
Yeah. So we actually spent 4 days a week at the roller rink when I was younger, in Ripon, Wisconsin, where I grew up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And my brothers DJ'd at the local roller rink, and my parents would go on Sunday nights, and they had their roller skating friends, and when I was 2 or 3, my parents put roller skates on me, and there you are. So I just kind of sped away, and I participated in the speed team and the speed skating team, and I competed and went to regionals and nationals, and then sadly, as things go out of fashion, like roller skating does, the roller rink got less popular and closed down, and so and I got less interested anyway, even as it was closing. So then after that point, my parents put me into dance. I mean, I had always been going to dance classes, and the studio that I grew up going to in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Richards School of the Dance, taught me a lot of really, really great lessons. It's a studio that's kind of old school, actually. They do a lot of show tunes from the early musical theater era.
Yeah, like 50s, 60s.
Yeah,
maybe
and even to this day, the tradition is to kind of like continue to recycle those show tunes.
Yeah.
In the sense that the dancers on stage would sing a song and then they would do a dance, and that was the format for all of the tap dancing. And then there was also ballet and jazz dance, but the ballet and the jazz dance weren't as intricate as the tap dancing. Like I learned a lot from the tap dancing and the showmanship that I learned at that studio. And then from there, my parents took ballroom dance lessons, and I would tag along with them, and I would watch them take ballroom dance lessons. And then one day, my parents, said to me, "Christal, do you want to learn how to swing dance?" And so after that, it was all over from there.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, to have in my own family, the only person who was really artistic was my dad. He could sing, and that was about it. Nobody,
yeah.
But it's interesting. Everyone was in movement.
Yeah, everyone was in movement.
And the momentum of your parents being in movement, and you, and it's like it's a great like mentorship,
Right.
And field.
And actually, my oldest brother Leland, he became very interested in Lindy Hop, and I love Lindy Hop as well. And he taught Lindy Hop in Ripon, Wisconsin for a while, and he's a huge fan of Frankie Manning and his teachings. And
Frankie Manning, yeah. He's the guy did the Shim Sham.
Yeah, the Shim Sham, yeah, totally.
Oh, that is research, maybe. The Shim Sham.
So yeah, it's in my family's blood to be movers, I think.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. If you can kind of narrow, this is going into the second question, but what would be the one out of all the styles of movement? What was the one that you really like drawn towards the most? I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I think you said the West Coast swing.
West Coast swing.
Is there a second one then, or?
No. Well, it's really interesting. Like, I love West Coast swing.
Yeah.
Well, I love West Coast swing, and I love partner dancing, and I love social dancing, and it's funny because I really love those styles, and I love what my brain gets to play inside of those improvised social dances. And now I don't do them anymore because I'm making work and I'm making art, and that's taking priority at this point. But yeah, yes.
Maybe you should revisit it. Maybe there should be like a project,
Oh yes.
where you fuse your booming days
and
your whatever.
Well, those themes, like accenting the music and being very musical, those themes are really apparent in my work. Yes, and hence the reason why I enjoy working with musicians so much, because I'm just naturally inclined to hear where the beat is and accent the beats and make the audience aware of the tempos in the music. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the next question has to do with injuries. As you know, whether you're partnering or dancing by yourself, as artists, we get injured. And if you could share, say, just one story of an injury that happened most recently, and how did you recover from it, or are recovering from it? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have some ongoing injuries, and mostly inflammation. I think inflammation, is my biggest injury.
Knees, back.
Knees.
Yeah.
I have recently changed my diet to accommodate for my body likes to be inflamed, and that's just the way it is. And so I've cut, some things out of my diet and introduced other things into my diet to lessen the inflammation. So just watching my nutrition, less wheat products, less gluten. It's really tough to stay away from those things
because they're everywhere.
But
everywhere.
Yeah, and
God,
and
it's
more
like a staple of the Wisconsin diet: wheat, cheese,
yeah,
and a lot of other things.
And more short strand fats like avocado oil, coconut oil.
You mean you're introducing them or staying away from them?
No, introducing them.
Oh, wow.
So yes, like avocado, egg yolks. Grass-fed butter, all of these really great sort of fats that are.
Do you take ghee at all?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, I just stick to the grass-fed butter.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's personally, and also sleep. If you want to heal any sort of fatigue or injury, and in my case, it's been inflammation and exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's proper nutrition. Figuring out what things you are maybe having not allergic reactions, but
when your body's giving you some cues.
Yeah, your body's giving you some cues. Yeah. I feel like that's the number one way is to watch my nutrition, to get enough sleep, and then also to continue strengthening those areas. The reason that you get injured in those areas is because they're weak. And so, for me, it's continuing to strengthen my hips and my core, so that my knees stay strong and stay less inflamed than they normally would be. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, one thing we didn't talk about, but I noticed it when I was looking up your information, is that you also have a Pilates background.
I do.
So do you use that to help condition the hips and, the hip region, the abdominal region,
Yeah, I do. I have a Pilates background, and I was teaching bar classes, so pulling from, I'm not trained by a company to teach bar, but, using just general ballet technique, and then also using Pilates, and thinking about how Pilates applies to being upright and using your ballet technique, and also modern dance technique through the bar class. So doing center work and strengthening that way through this very, very short, hour-long class that gets you fatigued.
I'm
very
going to
fatigued.
comment on this because I took a bar class with the lady who I interviewed, who has a yoga and bar dance studio in Green Bay. And I was sweating bullets. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do the little things like, the things in ballet class where you lift the leg. My back was tightening up, my glutes were...
Yeah.
I felt so helpless. But yeah, I mean, the power of the bar, that form of movement, using ballet, bar, Pilates stuff is impressive. So I highly recommend it to any man out there who wants to get their butt whooped.
Yeah, and the Pilates training that I did was very informative and helpful for me to connect to my jazz dance classes and modern classes that I was teaching. So yeah, I integrate it in. Yes.
It's still early in the morning for both of us.
It is. It's too early. But I apply it to my teaching. I don't straight up teach Pilates, but I do weave it through. So
awesome. What's inspiring you? Lately, what's a good book?
Oh, no, I'm going to tell you.
You tell me. Tell me. Speak, girl. Tell me.
So I'm an obsessive listener. I am an obsessive listener, and I really like podcasts. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I'm listening to this podcast called Meet the Composer, and it is pretty incredible. I think they're in their second season now, and they every couple of months they will cover a new composer and a modern day composer, so somebody who's alive.
Somebody who's not dead.
Yeah, and they talk to them. I forget who the host's name is. I'm pretty bad with names, actually.
That's okay, no worries.
But the host will talk to the composer, and the podcast itself is beautifully edited. It is, the audio that is captured in their interview, and then also the reflecting on the composer's work, and the samples that they use in the podcast are incredible. And it's like I turn that podcast on whenever I want to be inspired and brainstorm about my own work, because it just talks about that composer's inspiration and how they became who they became. It's a little bit like this, but with classical music, and it's like the episodes are an art piece in themselves, and that's it's not just that. It's also going to see work in the community, going to see musical theater, going to see music. I'm really inspired by all of the shows that the Tontine ensemble puts on right now. Tontine is a quartet of musicians, and they put on, they have a lot of shows all over the place, that the artists work in. And they're from Milwaukee, and I really like going to see their music shows and just listening and brainstorming as I listen. And I guess I guess this is kind of boiling down to what am I inspired by? Well, I'm inspired by music
Yeah.
a lot of times, but I'm also inspired by talking to the artists and like asking them about how they make their work and how they come up with concepts for shows and things like that. And not just, musical theater and music, but also other dance shows and, theater shows and performance art shows, installations, yeah.
Wow. Now we're talking. That's really good. I love podcasts.
Yeah. Do you listen to?
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I listen to Radio Lab.
Yes.
I listen to Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
You know who that is? You'll look him up. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tim Ferriss, the Radio Lab, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Just those two. But I listen to a lot of stuff I watch a lot of YouTube videos that are like inspirational, motivational stuff about life, business, and art.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Question number 5 has to do with if you were given the chance right now to learn any style of movement, right, that's not within your spectrum, but something new and different, what would it be?
Breakdancing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, I know. Well, right now I'm recently inspired by I'm kind of taking a sabbatical from teaching.
Yeah.
Teaching like contemporary dance classes. I'm still teaching ballroom classes to my 5th and 6th graders in the schools. But now that I have more time to myself, I've been taking a lot of yoga classes, and I'm working with Andrea Burkholder on doing some aerial work.
Oh my God,
aerial
she's
art.
amazing. Yeah. Ooh, I took her class. Ooh.
And
Yeah,
so
she's good.
anything that you've been through all of it. You know how
my shoulders are weak. And I
oh
thought
yeah.
they were strong, but they're weak.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah, that woman is. She knows
her stuff.
Yeah, she does.
Very well, in and out.
Yeah.
And she knows your body.
Yeah, you interview her for real.
Yeah.
You should.
Right,
Andrea, yeah. But both of those things are heavy on the upper body strength.
Yeah.
And I'm generally interested in breakdancing for that reason, because I'd really like to master that part of my body.
Yeah.
So
it is a lot, especially when you're doing those. When people go down onto the floor, they're
right.
really pushing with their arms, shoulders, hands. It's a lot, really a lot on the upper body.
Yeah, it is. I just think being an agile person on my hands would be really nice. So
imagine the type of collaboration, right?
Oh yeah.
If you and a b-boy, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Wagner. Well, let's see. What's one of your current collaborations? This is asking the next question. But what's your current collaboration?
Well,
Say within the next 3 months, what would be a collaboration?
Oh man, I'm dancing for Andrea Burkholder in A Woman's Place, and I'm dancing for Gina Lorenzi. Gina has a great project coming up where it involves live music, so I'm just jazzed up about it. Her brother actually is in the band Twin Talk, and Twin Talk is going to be doing live performance of some of their current music, and I think it's coinciding with an album release. I'm not quite sure, but I think that the show is coinciding with their new album release.
Oh, awesome! And
we're going to be dancing to their music, so we'll be in the Danceworks space, using that space, and live musicians, live dancers for an hour or so of very jazzy. I would say it's very jazzy in style, contemporary dance, but Gina Lorenzi comes from a jazz background.
And she's a great choreographer and performer
yeah,
here in Milwaukee.
Yeah. So I'm dancing for her, and then also I'm making my own work at Danceworks for our next show called Writing About Music is Like Dancing About Architecture.
Really?
Yeah, that's what the show is called.
That's great.
Yeah, so I'm kind of riffing off of the idea of dance fiction. So having my cast write dance fiction. And mostly they've written dance fiction in the form of haikus, and it's a really great exercise to like spark some creative phrases, yeah. And so I've loved what they've written, and I mean, I feel like a cheater. I'm using all of their writing. I'm not using any of my writing, but I'm just so inspired. Yeah, I gave the assignment.
Yeah, you gave the assignment, so it really came from you. It's just their interpretation of what you're asking for. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so one of the haikus that Liz licked.
That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, Liz licked. One of the haikus that she initially wrote that I have done a little 3-minute sort of study on. It goes like this. 2 couples enter, one after the other, weaving and intricate. And so we've taken that and we've made it into a 3-minute sort of dance.
Really?
Yeah.
Something that you said in less than 5 seconds.
Yeah, something, it's,
wow.
Yeah, so.
The ability to extract all that content.
Right. So I think that's my most collaborative thing right now, because I'm really using the dancers' brains to my advantage. I'm taking their writing and I am exploiting it, and I'll give them credit, of course.
The artist.
Yeah.
Wagner.
Yeah.
The artist. Wow, that's funny. Oh, this is also a collaboration. It's an interesting one. Just This is great. And so here's the thing. You know, what's one thing you would like to accomplish for yourself, say within the next, say 3 years? Just one thing. If there's one thing that you can feel the deep sigh.
I would like to personally inspire a movement. I would personally like to inspire a movement, whatever that means. Like a movement. I'm mostly thinking like a support movement.
That's what we were trying.
We were talking about. Yeah. I'm very passionate right now. You know, all over my Facebook and all over my Twitter right now.
Supporting other artists.
Yeah. So I'm not just thinking about how many posts I can post about other artists, but really like how can myself as an artist give and eventually get back, hopefully. So I would like to go out and I would like to support as many artists as I possibly can. Go to see theater, go to see music, go to see dance, post about it, talk about it with
bring attention to it. Put a spotlight and a magnifying glass, and a voice to a lot of things that are happening here in this wonderful city, which sometimes there's so much going on that people don't maybe make choices for it,
right?
Or people don't even know that something's across collaboration. They don't know about it between a dancer and a visual artist. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, check out what's going on over here. Or inviting people, just simply saying, hey, come check out this event. I'm going to this one.
Right, yeah. And, yeah, the thing that's troublesome right now, and I think everybody feels it all over, the world, is that people's art and people, like even art in commercial art, is so readily available at our fingertips all of the time that the every average day person opts to attain that media on their phone instead of going to see it, and
they're being gratified by this.
Yeah,
right?
I
got my taste of,
Yeah, and I think it's not just it's like, this is not a new trend. It's not just the phone. It's not just the personal computer. It's not just. It's like, before that it was the TV. Before that it was the radio. Before that, it's like, so I would love to inspire a movement of going to see art, because mostly the thing that I'm here's the thing that I'm frustrated about. On my sort of sabbatical from teaching, I'm serving tables on the side because sadly that makes more money.
Yeah, it brings, hey,
for now.
As an artist, you have to do whatever you take.
Right.
At one point, I had to do bar backing, cleaning tables, bathrooms, whatever, even after my professional career.
Right.
You just got to do whatever you do to make money for yourself.
Right. But I kind of enjoy it, actually, because it's like a mental break. It's social. It's a social setting, and it's a mental break. But I have, in Wisconsin, we love our sports. And I am appalled. I'm pleased and also appalled by the amount of people who will go to a bar and they will spend, $50 on drinks and food to watch football on a big screen. And I love it that people go out and do that in their social. But I also think to myself, like, what if that were dance? Like, what if people and someone has said to me, well, so you think you can dance, like that is dance, that's exactly what it is. Like, people gather around the television to watch that, but it's different. It's like, the way that we are going to be supported is if people actually go out and they go see shows, go to the show. Like...
What if this is crazy? I'm just brainstorming quickly as you're talking about.
Right.
The flash mob mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you want a flash mob. I don't want the extreme of flash mob, but the fact that you can draw so many people to one venue.
Right.
What if there's an art gallery that something comes up and a piece of work is showing that you're really passionate about, and you're like, hey, let's get 100 people coming to watch that thing. And everyone's going and they see I guess the importance of everyone going together is just the support that you're not alone doing this by themselves to see art. It just shout out.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, Milwaukee here in Milwaukee, they often do that with a business. They will.
Really?
Sometimes. I haven't been following them too closely in a while, but I know in the past they have said, hey, everybody, let's go to this new business and support them, and you buy their drinks and buy their food, and a handful or more of people will show up to support that business together, just because they put it out there in the world. Hey, this is a new business. We should go support them, keep them alive, give them a good start. And don't just sit at home
don't sit at home.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of times people are sitting home. Sometimes out of boredom, sometimes they just need rest, but sometimes what they really should be doing is connecting. We're social people. We can't be by ourselves all the time. We need to interact with others and invite people. I like to invite people. Say, hey, come here, come check this out.
Right.
So so not only are you the artist, but you're also the inviter.
Yeah.
And the spotlight.
And the advocate. Yeah.
And so when I was doing work in the Middle East, I saw your message and I responded right away because it's so truthful. And there are other people who have been talking about it, but I think your message has the one who's had, I guess, for me, the loudest impact on mine when I saw it. And I was like, yeah, that's a very valid point. We have to support each other because it is a small community of artists, and so we have to keep making sure that we do support what we're doing, or at least mention, hey, this guy, this person, even if you've never seen their work, but just give a shout out, like, hey, I would love to see this, but I don't get a chance to. Why don't you guys take a peek and see what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, there were several shout outs that I did on social media, and I couldn't go. It's because I couldn't go see their shows. I was like, I know that I can't go see their show. It's happening on the same weekend as all of these other shows. I'm also, working weekends too, so it's pretty tough to like make money and go see shows at the same time. And everybody deals with that. But I shouted out to Milwaukee Opera Theater and Quasimodo and those theater companies where I can't go see their shows because of time, because of money, and that's always a battle too. It's like I want to be an advocate, but also I need the funds to be an advocate. It's a tough balance right now, but I would like to just inspire, if I inspire my social network of non-dancers but art enthusiasts to go see, one more show than they normally would have, then that's just, that's spreading more of the love in the area that needs it.
That needs it the most.
Yeah.
Which is so. I was a part of this thing in the summertime, which is a part of the collaborative Milwaukee, or it's like creative community or something like that. And they had this event and it talked about like creativity, innovation, and there's so much art that's being produced here, which then generates work, right? So a lot of artists that are producing, whether they're graphic designers, choreographers, artistic directors, they're producing so much work for the state, and sometimes the artists don't reap the benefit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's sad, and that we need to keep giving, like going back, just acknowledgement to the people who are busting their ass off with creativity. You know? Whether you're giving them a shout out socially or just actually showing up to supporting their work. This is going to my last, it's not a question, but it's, if you could leave the young artists and upcoming artists here in the Midwest region, and then those who are listening internationally, one word of advice, what would it be?
Oh, well, one word?
Yeah, one.
Just one word?
Not one word, but if you could leave
one piece of advice?
Piece of advice,
okay.
Yes. One word. Live.
Okay. I was listening to On Being with Krista Tippett.
Yeah.
I love that podcast too. It's another one that I really like to listen to the conversation between two people. But in the last couple of episodes, she had somebody on, and they were talking, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who it is who said this, but it really resonated with me, and it goes along with the thing that I'm very interested in right now. And the saying is, bloom where you're planted. So whatever spot you're in, I think there are a lot of young artists who say, well, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to go to New York or LA or Chicago or big city. Big city in here, right? And they say that they want to go there, and then there's a lot of time spent waiting to get there.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, they're not making art and they're not making anything. And so if you're currently planted in a small city or a smaller city, and your goal is to get to a big city to make it big or to work with somebody big, bloom where you're planted at this moment. Like, make art, make a splash where you are as you are thinking about where you want to be. And also, I'm a huge advocate for, staying in the small city and making a smaller city or a smaller community bloom.
Yeah.
As opposed to thinking the grass is greener elsewhere, because it's not.
And in the reality, this is commenting on, say, people going to big cities. They go to some place like New York, and then they can't afford the rent because the rent's
right.
like $1,800 for a small one-bedroom studio or something
right.
like that. And they're working like nonstop, and they're really not doing any art. So
right.
you're better off staying in a place like Milwaukee, right?
Right.
It's incredibly affordable. There's lots of art going on.
There's lots of space. There's
lots
affordable space to work. Yeah, it's true.
I'm just getting cold. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was like, "Are you leaving?"
No, I'm getting cold. My back's here.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's my advice. Like, if you are currently stuck where you're stuck, then plant your feet and grow some flowers. I mean, grow some. Make sure that you are contributing and giving back to where you are at that moment instead of waiting to be somewhere else. I think that's the. Yeah.
And then for I can see how a lot of young artists that it produces momentum. You're generating, you're creating, you're making stuff versus waiting for the right time.
Right. Yeah.
Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way people can reach you on social media? I know that you have a Facebook page, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're on Facebook. You said you're on what? Twitter?
Yeah.
What's your handle there, whatever it's called?
Well, so where I'm posting a lot of, current stuff that's going on in Milwaukee right now, like my support page, is Not in New York. So
Not in New York.
Yeah. So it's at Not in New York.
Are you spelling like New York or NY, just like?
Spelled out. Yeah, New York spelled out. And then my personal Twitter is XAL_Wagner. So XAL_Wagner. And that's where I'm at.
Wagner, I love
it. And then my website, which is like kind of bare bones at this point.
You have beautiful photos on there.
Yeah, I have some fun photos on there. But it's not. my website is christalwagner.com, and Christal spelled like Christmas, except christalwagner.com. So connect with me there.
That's wonderful. Well, Christal, thank you so much for your time, and this has really been a blast, and so many, I guess, different rays of light are being, shined on you by hearing your story. Like, I had no idea you were into rollerblading, or like skating.
Roller skating.
It's or the fact that you're really drawn towards live music.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key component as a through line,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the fact now, you really want to support other artists by giving them the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And acknowledging that who they are, that there's a lot of art here and you support it. They should.
Right.
So thank you. And this will be up very soon.
Thanks, Edwin.
Okay. Don't forget to sign up for my monthly newsletter by going to my website, www.edwinovera.com. As a bonus, you're going to receive the first chapter of my ebook, which is entitled 5 Easy Steps to Becoming a Successful Freelance Dancer. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking, hey, I'm not a dancer, but I bet you know 1 or 2 people who are. And you can help spread the word over to them about this book and this amazing opportunity by sharing my information. Also, make sure to leave comments down below, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and even spread the word onto others by sharing this link on your social media accounts. Last thing I'll say is if you have any questions about this interview or anything else that pertains to being a freelance artist, let me know, and I'd love to respond back to you with my answers.